Just to take our listeners back to where you started out, you're a psychologist, and you felt that there perhaps had to be some easier way of getting through to patients than perhaps some of the ways that psychologists usually use. How did it all start for you?
You know, in the early 1970s, it was actually about 1973, I was a student in Montreal, where I'm from, and the first animal that I ever got was a gerbil, very small little rodent.
We don't have those here.
You don't. And they actually aren't in California, but in Montreal we could have it. I grew up not having any animals, and so my first real little animal was a gerbil. I had seen a film about a little mouse, Flowers from Algernon, would have been the book that really inspired this whole thing. And so I got this gerbil, and at that time I worked part-time at a program I designed for children with learning disabilities. In those days, that term generically would have been a term that we would have used for kids that had ADHD, Asperger's, high-functioning autism, Tourette's. The 70s, the context of learning disorders was a much broader generalization.
Threw them all in a big pot.
Right. And so we ran a social skill program, and I was really interested in helping kids develop more social skills and social savoir-faire. And so one of the things I just thought that would have been interesting was, what would happen if I brought this little gerbil, who I already had for about a month, and she was very easy to handle. And to my amazement, when I brought her, not expecting anything more than just the kids giggling, many of the children wanted to hold her. I found kids that were very active wanting to slow down and just be gentle. And so she became our official mascot of our program. And kids over the months made mazes, a little habitat. But the neatest part was that every time I got there, there was always a few children that would say, "I promise that I'll be gentle with Sasha." And I never forgot that. And, you know, it was interesting when you mentioned my interest or keen interest in learning new ways. It's crucial that I explain as a psychotherapist. There's a part of me that's very traditional, and so I recognize my training, my background, and I don't forget those skills in doing what I need to do. But rapport building and connecting and making a very good start with the people you deal with is crucial. Mm-hmm. And so over the course of 30 years, I've developed many, many unique strategies. One, of course, was my interest in magic. And magic was the first thing that I really applied with young children so that I could get them to feel very comfortable. I was a graduate student, learned 2 tricks. And then when I began doing clinical work, you know, I only do that part-time because I'm a full-time professor, my patients were so in awe. But then the quick thing that they always asked was, "Show me more." And I didn't know any more. So I learned more magic. And over the course of about 25 years, I'm a pretty good amateur magician, I guess. But magic was what I wanted to use only as a catalyst of getting children, or in most of my works with children, comfortable. And that's how I began using animals therapeutically. But I realized very, very, very quickly that animals weren't just illusions or tricks, they were beings. And they made major contributions. But it's very important for me to explain that they don't work with me as little fun trinkets. They are co-therapists with me. They're well trained. They're highly respected. And I always have to say this only because when I began this, I wasn't as conscious of this 20 years ago because no one really taught me this. I learned this on my own, and is the fact that their welfare is of utmost importance. My animals are never put in any position of jeopardy. They're well taken care of, well groomed. They get break times. They get days off. Although many of them don't really like the days off because they love to come, because In fact, when they go home, the first thing my wife says, "You're not at work now, guys," because they're given so much attention and love. And so that's how it all began. It's been, first it was serendipitous, and over the course of many, many years, I've learned ways of utilizing the animals so that their purposes weren't just as a social catalyst to enhance rapport, but used in ways for teaching and learning, for stories. You know, Puppy, my first therapy dog, who I loved dearly, was a golden retriever. You only had to look at her smile and you'd know that she was abused, because her teeth were knocked out, the bottom of her teeth. And so some of the animals that I've used over the years through rehabilitation, they learned that second chances in their lives allowed them to do things. And so over the years, some of the animals I've incorporated have been animals that have had bad beginnings. And when children see them, they can easily tell.